Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Vanessa. I am a developer at Wrangle, just in case you haven't seen our name, because it's not everywhere, clearly. We are a consultancy based in Toronto, Canada. So today, I'm here to talk to you about this dev tool called Augury. So I'm going to cover what Augury is, why you may want to consider adding Augury to your Angular 2 development toolchain, and how it will make your life ever so slightly easier. So what is Augury? So some of you might have already heard of Augury. You might have heard me talking about Augury in another conference, or you may already be using it. Those people are those adventurous souls. But for those who have not yet, Augury is, again, an Angular 2 development aid. It's not just a debugger, and I'll circle back in a bit to explain what I meant by that. It comes in the It comes in the format of a Chrome extension, and it is available on the Chrome Web Store as of now. So if you don't want to listen to me, go ahead and download it and start playing with it. I'm cool with it. It is also an open source project started at Wrangle. So the official development effort for Augury began around fall last year, and we quickly whipped up a prototype and demoed it in Angular Connect in October 2015. So that's a whole year ago. And as you can see here, it was quite ugly and primitive, but nevertheless, it was a proof of concept to showcase what was possible, what kind of information we could get back from the debug API, and people were really excited about it. And that was when Angular was still in alpha, I think. And fast forward, after maybe 500 RC versions, we're here now. After we did several usability testing, and once we got the feedback, we iterated upon that, and then the beta version was born, and we launched it officially in May at NGConf a few months ago. And as you can see, the UI is a lot more polished, looks way nicer, and we also added a lot of pretty neat features, neat and useful features, which you'll get to see in a little bit. Now, you might ask, why would I even need Augury? I am an amazing developer. I know JavaScript inside and out. I live, breathe, and dream of Angular. Actually, I might plan on naming my firstborn Angular. So why do I need another dev tool when I already have console log? Now, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with debugging with console log. I do that. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Nothing wrong with that. But I am a very visual person, and I suspect a lot of you are as well. And sometimes it's just a lot easier to be able to visualize the whole structure of your application just in front of you. With that said, I'm going to illustrate my point with this extremely complex, super technically accurate diagram that I drew on a hotel napkin. So this is how app development usually starts. You start with one module. You got a root injector. You have one component, hello world. All right, that's pretty easy. I can remember that. And then you add a few more components. That's still doable. And then you have some dependency. This component one depend on service one. And then you got a few more components and some other dependencies. It's already getting a little confusing. And I don't even really know what's going on anymore. And now, mind you, this is only just one module. What if you have that many, and some of them are shared? How are you supposed to remember all of that? Sooner or later, this is kind of what it looks like in your head, right? Wouldn't it be nice to have all that mapped out in like a nice little illustration so you can really see what's going on? And that's only hierarchical injection. On top of that, you have the routing and navigation. You have the change detection strategy that you have to pay attention to. I don't know, like I can't really keep a mental map of everything like that. So this is where Augury comes in. And that is what I meant when I said Augury is not just a debugger. Sure, you can use Augury to find all these hard-to-find bugs, but the most useful thing that it puts on the table is that it allows you to visualize component relationship, you understand dependency hierarchy, routing structure, and all that. And by understanding how all these elements tie together under the hood of your application, you as a developer will be able to build better and more optimized Angular 2 applications. Now, that's a lot of talk of what Augury can do. So here I'll show you in action so you know I'm not lying. All right, so for the first part of the demo, I'm going to use this pretty basic-looking demo app. Kitchen Sink is really just a collection of different Angular 2 components that we use internally for developing Augury. So I'm going to fire up Augury here. Once you install it from the Chrome store, you should be able to see Augury at like the last tab in the Chrome development tool. Is this readable to the people at the back? Is it OK? Yes? No? That? Is that better? OK, cool. Right, so right away, you see a whole list of components, which we refer to as the component tree. And as you probably know by now, Angular 2 builds on a component system, and it usually ends up being components within components, and eventually they form a component tree. So just by looking at it, you can already kind of gauge the structure of this application. And there are also several different ways, component rendering modes. So if you want to see only the components that you made, you can do that as well. Or if you want like a deeper view of the DOM structure, you can do that. But for this demo, I'm going to stick with the hybrid view, which only shows elements in the tree if they have properties set in Angular 2. I personally find that the most sensible and useful mode of all. And as you hover over these the components in the component tree, there's visual cue on the browser showing you where they're located. And it's very much like the inspect element thing that we're all so familiar with. And as the state of your component tree changes, the component tree gets diffed, and the changes are highlighted, so you know what the heck's going on. So when I select a component here, on the right-hand side, you get all these useful information of this certain component called demo component. You see what the change detection strategy is set for this component. And then this is probably one of the most useful section, state. Now, what do I mean by state? A very good way to show you is actually through this little handy link here called view source. You click it, and it will bring you directly to the TypeScript source code. So here you can see by state, we just mean all the properties set in this component. Okay, so back to Augury. So any changes to the state of the component, it will be reflected right away, like such. You can also change the properties directly from this info panel as well, so you don't even have to touch the code base. Or change the background color. And for this particular component, I have an output here. It's an event emitter. Anytime that I click submit, it will have a pop-up telling me, yeah, you can't really see that, it's OK. It says whatever it is that I typed in this box here. You can also invoke the event emitter manually from the info panel as well. So if I were to type, I don't know, that will work as well. And here, okay. And next, I would like to show you the dependencies. As you know, dependency injection is pretty much the bread and butter of Angular. So here in this dependencies section, you can see that for component 5, it has 3 dependencies: service 2, service 3, and service 4. And when you click on each dependency, it will tell you what other components are also dependent on it and such. Now, I know that dependency injection could get pretty messy and hard to understand, which is why we have this injector graph here. Let me make this, yes. So here we're inspecting component 5, which is this little guy here. And you can tell that it has 3 dependencies: service 2, service 3, and service 4. Now, service 2 is provided by the root at this level, whereas service 3 and 4 are provided in the parent level on component 2. So this graph would make it really easy for you to visualize where the injector is coming from and such. But now, here I must note that ever since RC5, with the introduction of ng module, you're not actually supposed to be doing this. Well, you can, but it's very rare cases that you will do this. And most, if not all, of the services should be provided in the root level. With that said, this information is still, like this graph is still accurate, but the Augury team is going to rethink how we want to display the injector graph to make it more useful for you guys. So that's the injector graph. The next thing, the other visual tool that Augury provides is the router tree. In this graph, you can see all the routes that are currently available in this app. And as you hover over, it gives you more information regarding this path, or yeah, this route, sorry. And auxiliary route is colored differently, so you know what it is. And for example, this one, you can tell that for this path, it takes 2 parameters, the name and the message. So this comes quite handy. And for both the router tree and the component tree, you can search as well. So if you're dealing with an application with, I don't know, 5,000 components or something, this will come really handy. Right, last but not least, if the whole UI, you're just not really a fan of the whole UI thing, or you just want to dig deeper, here there's like a prompt. You can do $A in the console. So select any component in the component tree and do $A. It will return the debug element straight from the Angular 2. So it's very similar to ng probe, if you're familiar with that. So that's the first part of the demo. I just covered all the features currently available with Augury. For the second part of the demo, I want to show you how you can actually use Augury to debug an application. So I built a very simple game. It's an emoji hunting game. So this little guy, Puss in Boots, is hungry, and he's wondering if we could find him all the fish. All right, so let's get started. Actually, let me pull out Augury first. Okay, whoa. That's fine, right? It's just emoji. You all know emojis. Okay, so right off the bat, you can already gauge how this game is structured. So you got like the root here, and game component seems to be the entire thing here. Scoreboard is probably in charge of the score and the time, game board and emoji. Now there's a bug here, is that anytime I click on, okay. Well, first thing that I have to do to debug this thing is to make this time more than 30 seconds, because I can't do this in 30 seconds. Now I can always go to, go to the code base and directly edit the max time here. But I can also do that from, from the panel here. So let's do 3,000. So all of a sudden I have 3,000 seconds to play with this. All right, so the bug. The bug is that even when I click on the right fish, the score isn't updating. So I need to figure out why. Now the score, if you look at the scoreboard component, you can see a score is input, is an input. So it must be coming from the game component. Now I also know that the emoji component has an event emitter here if the emoji is clicked, and if it's correct, it will emit true. All right, so let's try this. Okay, I keep doing that and nothing's happening. So my guess is that this event isn't handled properly by the parent component. Actually, you know, like the fact that it says input here is probably already a telltale sign that there's something wrong with that. But let's pretend we didn't see that. Right, so, and for the game board component, there's also another output, is correct. So let me see if this is doing anything. Okay, so the score is updating. So there's definitely some, there's a gap between what this is correct is emitting and it's not getting propagated properly. So if I look at the source code, okay, I have the event emitter here, but yep, it's not doing anything. It's not expecting an output from the emoji component. So then I can just go ahead and add that in the game board component. I hope that's right. Let's see if this is working. Cool. Now the score is updating, and I can actually play this. Should I finish this game? Yeah? Okay. Do you see the last two? It's really hard to do this on stage. Help, please? What? Left? Bottom left. Oh, okay, okay. Middle right? Left, left, left. Oh, okay. Yay. Group effort. All right, so that was a fun demo. Back to the slides. So you've seen what Augury can do, and I want to just kind of briefly explain what goes on under the hood. So obviously Augury is a Chrome extension, but under the extension wrapper, Augury isn't much different from any Angular 2 applications that you probably are writing already. We do leverage the Angular 2 debug API a lot to get all the information per component. And it being a Chrome extension, of course, we have to use the Chrome extension API for a lot of message passing as well. My team actually recently have to overcome this challenge where, okay, I'm going to keep this really brief because it's a little out of scope. But for the component tree to be serialized and then send it back to the back end, and then it has to be re-serialized and sent back to the front end, that caused a lot of performance issue. Our team, though, came up with a pretty creative solution, but I will not tell you because I want to keep you in suspense, and because, well, also because it's out of scope, and also I want to entice you to check out our architectural documentation on GitHub, We have a very detailed explanation on how we architected the project, and of course, that creative solution that I was talking about was also mentioned there. So do check it out. That will give you a very good understanding of just how this whole thing works. So that's the present state of Augury. And as for the future, we have been, like I said, we have been working on a lot of just optimizing it to make it work better for large size applications. And stability is definitely something that we've been working on a lot. And as I mentioned, with the change, with the ng module introduction, we have to rethink how we should do the injector graph, how we want to display the data and make it more useful. And we'll also investigate more native platform support. This is really the focus of our team right now. One of the questions I get asked the most is, does Augury work with blah and insert any other tool, library, framework that is within the Angular 2 ecosystem? The answer is sometimes. And like I said, our focus is on the native platform support. So all the other ones are largely dependent on the community. For example, Thorsten wrote a really good article. I don't know if he's here right now. Probably not. OK, he's giving a talk later. But he wrote a really good article on how to use Augury with Electron. So if you're developing an Angular 2 app for desktop, then you can definitely make use of Augury. And last but not least, Augury being a feedback-driven product, we want to gather more feedback from the community as well and iterate upon that. Which brings me to the community part. Because that it's open source, Augury's future largely depends on what the community wants. And by community, I mean all of you. Ever since launch, there is a pretty large increase in terms of community contributions, and they contribute in various different ways. It could be submitting issues, or helping out with issues with the help wanted label, which you'll see in a bit, or improving documentations even, because documentations are super important. And we love contributions. Again, our repo is on GitHub. We have, if you wanted to see what issues we need help on, they're labeled with help wanted. A lot of them are first-time contributor friendly as well, just to kind of get you through that, open source, I don't know how to contribute, I'm scared. Don't worry, we'll be there to guide you through that. So yeah, definitely check us out and help us. The other way you can contribute is by providing feedback. After you install Augury, if you click on the icon, there's a little feedback link, or you can just do the URL old school way. That works as well. Yes, give us feedback. Let me know what you think. Let us know what you think, and all your feedback will be read. And these are all the internal contributors that have, at some point, helped out Augury, helped shape Augury to what it is right now. So without them, there will be no Augury, and there will be no me on stage talking about Augury. So thanks to all of them. Last but not least, to reiterate, Augury is available on the Chrome Web Store. Go get it now if you want. That's it from me. Thank you.